R13, senior who's been driving IndyCar since 1964, is his nearest rival, only 5 points behind. Emerson Fittipaldi has 99 points, is third in the standings. He could become only the second driver in history to be world champion and IndyCar king. Al Jr. had back-to-back wins this year. His victory on this track at Cleveland followed a win at the Meadowlands. And he has 5 other top 10 finishes. Al Sr. hasn't won a race this year, but his record is filled with consistency. He has finished out of the top 10 in only 3 races. Emerson Fittipaldi's high point of the year came not on a road course, but on the high banks of Michigan International Speedway. These 3 drivers and 3 others all have a mathematical chance of winning the IndyCar Championship this year. Seca Raceway near Monterey, California for today's Throws 300 IndyCar race. The weather here, 65 degrees. Winds are from the northwest at 5 to 10. Skies partly sunny, a 30% chance of rain and low humidity. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bob Jenkins. Only 3 more races to go in the IndyCar season for 1985, and the points battle is a tremendous one. We take a look at the way the points were at the halfway point in the season, and we can see that Mario Andretti was on top with 83. But now the current point standings show that Al Unser Jr. has gone into the lead, and Bobby Rahal has come on from nowhere to be in contention for the national championship. With me is IndyCar driver Derek Daly, who in his only start here at Laguna Seca was on the front row. The points battle is tremendous, Derek.
Indeed it is, Bob. This is by far the most competitive championship that IndyCars have ever seen. And like in any form of competition, momentum is very important. And the man with the momentum at the moment is Bobby Rahal.
And he is on the front row for today's race. As a matter of fact, on pole position. Alongside will be another driver who's in contention for the championship, Danny Sullivan.
The Miller man from Penske started off this year as the fastest man on the track, almost every track. He then lost it a little bit during the season, but he's now back. He's now back on the front row and looking to win this one.
Jack Arute is down in the pit area. Will be one of 2 reporters covering the area down there for us. Let's go down to Jack for the command to start engines.
Thank you, Bob. It's my pleasure to introduce to everyone assembled the Commandant for the nearby Fort Ord Military Reservation, General William H. Harrison, for that great command. General?
On behalf of all the light fighters of the 7th Infantry Division Light in Fort Ord, California, gentlemen, start your engines.
And as the field begins to come to life here, we're going to take a look at another key issue in the points battle. We alluded to the fact that Mario Andretti is still in the points hunt. But during qualifying, Mario was only allowed to get 2 laps. The reason? Because he had an engine expire. They had to change the motor. They only got 2 laps of qualifying in, and he's mired right here on the outside of the 4th row. So he's going to have to work his way to the front very quickly in hopes of gathering in points. Let's switch now to my other colleague who'll be covering the action on pit road, and that'll be Gary Lee.
Well, thank you, Jack. This afternoon, the Graco Car Stereo Wolf Sun Systems team wants everybody to know that Kevin Kogan is ready to win his first ever championship car race. We saw him 2 weeks ago lead so many laps at Michigan here on ESPN. He finished 4th in that race, by far his best this season. He's had some mechanical woes. When the car is right, Kevin is fast. He starts 5th today and would like to win it because he's back home again in California, resides down the coast south of here in Redondo Beach. Bob?
All right, thank you, Gary and Jack. 98 laps around this 1.9-mile road course at Laguna Seca. And the Throws 300 is being brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? And by Pennzoil Motor Oil, quality protection. Ask for it. And by Gates Rubber Company, for over 60 years, a world leader in automotive belts and hoses. A look at this racetrack and the starting lineup for today's IndyCar race when we return to Laguna Seca Raceway.
Have you driven a Ford? When was the last time you had the kind of car that brings the road alive? Have you driven a Ford? Then you don't know what you're missing. Have you driven a Ford? Driven a Ford? Have you driven a Ford lately?
These men are on their way to work. Their office, the Pennzoil Penske Super Truck. Inside, a car designed to win championships. Only one motor oil makes it inside the truck. Only one motor oil makes it inside this race car, Pennzoil.
Around here, Pennzoil protection is part of the equipment.
Back at Laguna Seca, the cars are on the racetrack taking their warm-up lap, and now let's take a look at the starting lineup for today's 300-kilometer race. On the pole in car number 3 from Dublin, Ohio, the Budweiser True Sports March, Bobby Rahal, qualifying at 126.283, not a track record. On the outside of row number 1 will be Danny Sullivan in car number 4, the Miller American. He's from Louisville, Kentucky. In the second row, Roberto Guerrero in the number 9 True Value Master Mechanic March. He's from Medellin, Colombia. And outside of row number 2 will be Al Unser Jr. in the number 30 Domino's Pizza Hot One. Row number 3, Kevin Kogan from Redondo Beach, California in the number 18 Craco Wolf Systems March. Outside of row number 3, Roberto Moreno in car number 6, the Valvoline Hawk March. In row number 4 will be Jeff Brabham in car number 7, the Coors Light Silver Bullet. Outside of row number 4 from Nazareth, Pennsylvania, driving car number 1, the Beatrice Lola, Mario Andretti. Row number 5 will be Ari Lyondike in car number 61, the Provimi Veal Lola. Outside of row number 5, Al Unser Sr. from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and the number 5 Pennzoil Z7. In the 6th row will be Jacques Villeneuve in car number 76, the Canadian Tire March. Outside of the 6th row, Bruno Giacomelli from Monte Carlo in the STP Oil Treatment March number 20. In the 7th row, Michael Andretti from Nazareth, Pennsylvania, car number 99. Outside of row number 7 will be Emerson Fittipaldi from Sao Paulo, Brazil, in the number 4711 March. The 8th row will be Jose Le Garza in number 55, the Schaefer Machinist Union March. Outside of the 8th row, Jan Lammers in the number 32 Forsyth Lola. The 9th row will be Raul Boisel in car number 22, and Scott Brayton driving the number 71 Livingwell Auto-Style Jolly Rancher Candies Lola this afternoon. In the 10th row will be Rupert Keegan in car number 59, the Copenhagen Machinist March. Outside of the 10th row, car number 21, Johnny Rutherford, the Vermont American March. In the 11th row will be rookie Dominic Dobson driving the leader car number 24. Outside of row number 11 will be Steve Chassie in car number 56, the Genesee Beer Wagon. The 12th row has Tom Sneva in car number 2, the Skoll Bandit, his teammate Ed Pym in number 98 alongside in the 12th row. Number 13, car number 36, Dennis Firestone in the Pace Electronics Lola, number 36. Outside of the 13th row will be Randy Lanier, car number 57, the Arciero Wines Lola. And all alone in row number 14, starting in 27th position from Plainfield, Indiana, in the Dale Coyne Lola, car number 19 will be Dale Coyne. The cars come down the hill in the hairpin right now, and next time around they should be getting the green flag. It gives us an opportunity to look at this 1.9-mile road course here at Laguna Seca. There are 7 turns, and the cars right now are at the start-finish line right below our broadcast position. Moving into turn number 1, which is a left-hand turn, and at this point the cars are going downhill at about 5 degrees. They go over a 1,400-foot straightaway to turn number 2. That's a left-hander, and again, you're going slightly downhill. But when they get to turn number 3 on the course, which is about 1,400 feet further down the track, there is a left-hand corner, and at this point, you begin to go uphill.
That's right. Uphill, we go through turn 4 at about 125 miles an hour, just to give you an idea of these the speeds. They go under the bridge for turn 4, up the hill to turn 5. Turn 5 leading to the corkscrew. The one you see them on now is just turn 4. They come onto the bridge, turn left, it's a 4th gear corner. The cars try and use all the road, a little bit of bump curving on the outside. You see Unser Jr. warming up his tires, they're ready for the green flag start. Uphill, it's hard to see the uphill piece on our camera shot here, but it's a very, very steep rise up onto the corkscrew. Now the corkscrew is one of the most unusual, very unusual corners that I've ever seen on a racetrack. It's very, very tight, very slow, a right, left, right corner, and leading down to a very, very sharp drop down into turn 7. Turn 7 is a 4th gear corner. You see the cars moving through here. Another downhill section up into 5th gear, hard on the brakes, and the track is very, very bumpy here, so don't be surprised if you see the cars begin to jump around a little bit under braking. turn right, fourth gear corner, leading to the end of the lap, down to turn 9, which is a first gear hairpin, and then they start again.
And the pace car has pulled into the pit area, and we get set now to begin the 300-kilometer race here at Laguna Seca, and the green flag is out. It is an extremely narrow racetrack, only 30 feet in width, so there will not be a whole lot of passing as far as the faster cars are concerned. It will be pretty easy for the faster cars to overtake the back markers, but we expect to see some real dicing action on this racetrack this afternoon. Bobby Rahal has jumped out into the lead as they go into the corkscrew for the first time. At this point, you begin to pick up momentum after having crested the hill, and the car is literally pointed down on its nose. Running in second position, Roberto Guerrero has moved into that spot as the rest of the field comes through the corkscrew. Everybody through nicely, it appears. This is the area of the racetrack earlier this weekend that Howdy Holmes had a very bad accident, and we'll talk more about that later. Now, Al Unser Jr. has moved into second position. Danny Sullivan is third. Roberto Guerrero back to fourth place. And Roberto Moreno is running in fifth as one of 98 laps have now been completed.
Sullivan didn't get very good start. He lost his advantage from the front row start position, was fourth round turn 2, was just past Guerrero to finish this first lap in third place. Unser Jr. pushing very hard in the opening laps, made his way past Guerrero, now chasing down Bobby Rahal.
Well, of course, both Bobby Rahal and Al Unser Jr. are those in contention, 2 of the 6 involved in the battle for the national championship. As we now zero in on Roberto Guerrero there for a moment, it's downhill once again as Rahal continues to have the lead, but it appears as if Al Unser Jr. is closing in on the leader, and there's a good battle for fourth position going on here between Roberto Guerrero in the white car and Roberto Moreno in the Valvoline blue and white car. They come through the corkscrew, and Roberto holds on to fourth place. Behind Moreno is the number 18 car of Kevin Kogan.
South American Roberto is fighting for fourth place at the moment. Interesting thing, we just saw a little puff of smoke in the back of Guerrero's car there. Could be an engine, could be just bottoming it out slightly. Roberto Guerrero was one of the drivers who blew an engine in the final practice session on Saturday, so this engine is fresh. It's not the one he wanted to use. Roberto is hoping it's going to last and do the job for him.
As the cars came down below us on the very first lap, and I looked to my right as they went into corner number 2, I also thought I saw some puff of smoke from that car, so we'll keep an eye on it and see if the engine holds together on the number 9 car driven by Roberto Guerrero.
The first man we've had out so far is Rupert Keegan. Rupert Keegan in his second Machinist Union car made a very quick pit stop at the end of the first lap to fix a gear shift.
Running in fifth position, make that 6th spot, is Kevin Kogan in car number 18, who had such a tremendous race at Michigan International Speedway a couple of weekends ago, led for a great portion of that race. Unfortunately, his teammate Michael Andretti has come in for a pit stop. And let's go down to Gary Lee to see what's going on down there. Gary?
They're working now on the right front wing. They're not trying to change it. They're using manpower just to bend it back in position. What happened down in the very tight turn 9? Michael Andretti bumped into the rear of Bruno Giacomelli. And there is no room for error on this racetrack in turn 9. As you can see, they're working feverishly trying to get it. Now they pull it off, and maybe they'll send him out without. Yes, he's going back out. The car likely will not handle that well. Derek, you've been in situations like this. How about the handling on car 99?
I have to say, Michael's going to be at a big disadvantage here now because turns 1, 2, 3, and 4 in this car are high-speed corners. You need a lot of downforce to turn the front of that race car into the apex of the corner. So Michael is going to have a struggle for the rest of this race here this afternoon.
Bobby Rahal has the lead. He is without question the hottest driver on the PPG IndyCar trail at this point. And another indication from our spotters is that Kevin Kogan may be black flagged. We will stand by and report more on that situation in just a moment. Bobby Rahal in the corkscrew once again, leading here at the completion of lap number 5. Make that 4 laps have been complete. Number 5 is about to be completed as Rahal comes down the hill once again and sets the car into turn number 8. Right behind him is Al Unser Jr. and in third place is Danny Sullivan. Rahal has had 2 victories in the last 3 races. He won at Mid-Ohio. He was 10th at St. Air and was also the winner in the most recent IndyCar race at Michigan International Speedway that we televised live for you on ESPN. He is within striking distance of the national championship if things can go well for him. Now there is Kevin Kogan, who has come in for a stop, and they appear to be working on the left side of that car, putting fuel in, and now they begin to work there on the side of the car, Derek.
Most unfortunate for Kevin. We heard he was going to be black flagged, but it looks as if he has reported something wrong with the car. The mechanics did work on that left-hand side, but I think it possibly was loose bodywork, and that would be why he was black flagged, because there's no way the safety officials would let Kevin run if they could see that the bodywork was flapping, that it was loose.
An unbelievable crowd here at Laguna Seca, by far the largest we have ever seen. 5 of 98 laps completed. There are the top 3, and we'll be right back.
This fall, millions of people will change their antifreeze, but not their radiator hoses. It's an easy mistake to make, because hoses can look good outside even when they're wearing out inside. So put in Quality Gates hoses the next time you change antifreeze. Because if your hoses go, your car won't.
Effort. It's what separates one company from another. Effort. It's what it takes to stay ahead. Effort. It's the difference between a job and a job well done. Effort. It's what makes Hilton America's business address.
For traditional American values, flip through the pages of the big fall shopper circular from True Value hardware stores. You'll find the Futura K angle broom from Empire, just $3.99. And Cervest trash bags in a variety of sizes, only $1.88 a pack. Get 6 C or D or 8 AA size Rayovac heavy-duty batteries for just $2. And furnace filters in selected sizes, 3 for $1.89 in the fall shopper circular from participating True Value hardware stores.
Monday means NFL football and more on ESPN. First, the 1984 Washington Redskins, winners and still champions. Next, a Monday night matchup in the league's toughest division. We'll preview the St. Louis Cardinals' collision with Washington in the NFC East. And Inside Baseball sets the scene for the Major League's championship series. It's a total sports exclusive on the teams playing for the pennant. All on ESPN Monday.
Back at Laguna Seca, Scott Clayton in car number 71 has stalled on the race course. Scott took over this ride this weekend, apparently has it for the last 2 races of the year. A couple of drivers have been in this car so far this year, including Michael Rowe and Keiki Mansilla. Now, Mario Andretti, at one time the leader in kart points, is in 6th position, and right ahead of him is Roberto Moreno, who is running 5th. And Mario did not get off to a good start. As a matter of fact, the weekend hasn't been all that great for him. He did lose an engine in the final qualifying session yesterday. Just as the car came out of the hairpin, there was a big puff of smoke, and Mario pulled it to the inside of the racetrack. So he had to settle for the time that he turned in on Friday, and therefore not a good starting position.
That can be critical on a road course as tight as this, because he's now caught behind people like Moreno and Guerrero, who are, although very quick drivers. He had hoped to start ahead of them and try and tag on to the Rahal on the Junior Tour away, leading this race.
And Gary Lee has an update on Mario's son. Gary?
Indeed, it has not been a good day thus far for Michael Andretti, who just celebrated his 23rd birthday after bending that right front wing, bumping into Bruno Giacomelli. I must admit I was surprised he did not change it, because they do have a spare here. The problem now has been compounded because they have lost radio contact with Michael. So Michael cannot relay to the team just how the car is handling. So it's up for the team just to simply wait, and maybe Michael will stop, and maybe he won't.
Steve Chassis spun in the corkscrew, and the car came to rest right in the middle of the racetrack, and everybody miraculously missed him, although there were some close calls up there.
Rahal really was caught a little bit by surprise, because you could see just as he arrived down through the corkscrew, he made a little sharp turn left, and then continued on his way. I think that took him a little bit by surprise.
Mario Andretti running in 6th position here, but the battle really up front ahead of him is a pretty good one for 4th, 5th, and 6th position. In 4th spot is Roberto Guerrero, then Roberto Moreno, and finally Mario Andretti. There they are coming up the hill once again and into the corkscrew. Andretti sneaking up right on the rear wing of Roberto Moreno in that number 6 car, but Jacques Villeneuve in car number 76 has come in for a pit stop also, the winner of the race at Elkhart Lake earlier this year. Let's go down to Jackaroo.
Well, they have killed the engine on the Canadian Tire car with Jacques Villeneuve at the controls. They've taken the bonnet off, and they're checking it over right now. First indication was that it could possibly be a problem within the ignition system, but they're continuing to check. We'll keep you apprised of it and get back to you shortly.
All right, Jacques sits waiting patiently in that car, trying to get back in the race. His year this year has been up and down, of course, highlighted by that win at Elkhart Lake. 11 laps have been completed now. We continue to focus on the battle for 5th position. There is Jeff Brabham, who is running in 7th spot. And we understand that Villeneuve's problem is the spark box, which is located in the side pod and can be repaired.
It looks as if Moreno is just holding Mario up just a little bit. Mario doesn't have enough horsepower to pass him on the straights, but he is quicker through the turns. But overall, he is being slowed down at the moment by Moreno, which is a result of his qualifying time, which is a result of that blown engine we spoke about earlier on.
There's Ed Pym in car number 98, who has come in for what is not a routine pit stop. Pym has performed so well in the IndyCar races recently, had a tremendous performance at Michigan International Speedway, finishing in 3rd spot, by far his best finish ever in an IndyCar, and he had high hopes here this weekend. But things started to go wrong for him in the final practice session yesterday after qualifying. He had qualified for 15th position, but then in the final practice session after qualifying, he did get off course, sustained some damage in that car, and he had to start in the 24th position, the final starting spot other than the promoter's options. So Ed Pym into the pit area, and we'll watch that situation to see if it's a terminal problem for Ed Pym. Roberto Moreno and Mario Andretti continue to fight out there on the racetrack in 5th and 6th position. This is far and away the best battle we have on the racetrack, as Bobby Rahal is setting the pace here, and Al Unser Jr. remains in 2nd position with Danny Sullivan in 3rd spot, and then in 4th, Roberto Guerrero.
Mario needs to get by Moreno to get up to the leading bunch, because the first 3 drivers in this race are the 3 drivers in contention for the championship: Rahal, Unser Jr., and Sullivan. So Mario needs to get up behind them to tag on to make sure he doesn't get left too far behind in these early laps in the race.
7th position here is car number 7, driven by Jeff Brabham. He announced earlier this weekend that he has signed on again with the Gallus team. His best finish this year was a 2nd at Cleveland. His other top 10 finishes have been at Long Beach and at San Air. Jeff Brabham, you gotta feel, is destined to win an IndyCar race before too much longer.
Very, very consistent. Was definitely in a position to win races this year, but has been dogged by mechanical problems. Jeff is going to win a race. He will definitely win a race. The Gallus team is probably one of the strongest teams that's growing rapidly at the moment. And we know that they've ordered Lolas for next year. They do have their own wind tunnel facility. They're taking on all the engineers they need, and they're about to mount a very, very strong challenge to take the series title next year.
Jeff Brabham right now running in 7th position as the car heads uphill toward the corkscrew once again. There he is, braking hard going into this very unusual configuration on the racetrack. There is the leader once again, Bobby Rahal. He is about to go into the hairpin. He comes out of it. When he does, he'll complete lap number 15. He's the leader, Al Unser Jr. 2nd, and then Danny Sullivan. We'll be back with more from Laguna Seca Raceway.
Just hear the stock cars rolling down that high bank track. Better keep your eye on number 5, cause he ain't looking back. That's Levi Garrett coming through. Taste that flavor coming through for you. Time after time, the quality comes through. That's why Levi Garrett is the brand I'm proud to choose. Levi Garrett.
To fully understand how Goodyear Eagle high-performance tires alter the driving experience, we urge you to read the Special Operator's Manual before you drive. The information it contains may contribute significantly to the performance of the properly equipped car. Goodyear Eagles. The tires engineered for cars with the proper qualifications.
Monday means NFL football and more on ESPN. First, the 1984 Washington Redskins, winners and still champions. Next, a Monday night matchup in the league's toughest division. We'll preview the St. Louis Cardinals' collision with Washington in the NFC East. And Inside Baseball sets the scene for the Major League's championship series. It's a total sports exclusive on the teams playing for the pennant. All on ESPN Monday.
Back with this Throws 300 IndyCar race from Laguna, Seca, California. There is Kevin Cogan, who has already been in for an unscheduled pit stop. He's back in 19th position and is very close to being lapped. The leader, Bobby Rahal, is running right behind him as he goes into corner number 2. Now, this area of the racetrack, Derek, is it flat out, or do you have to get off of the accelerator momentarily to go into those wide sweeping corners?
In qualifying, you can just about take it flat. The only driver that I saw do that, in fact, was Rahal when I went out on the circuit for the first 2 days of practice. In a racing situation, when the track is really greasy, when you have a full tank of fuel, I think everybody would back off to be safe in the system.
Good dicing going on here as Kevin tries to pass Dennis Firestone, and Bobby Rahal, you can see, is right behind Kevin now. Firestone with a nice gentlemanly move and moving over and allowing both Rahal and Cogan to pass, but now Rahal has his hands full with Cogan. Now Kevin allows Bobby to go by, and Rahal puts a lap on Kevin Cogan.
It looks as if Cogan actually touched Rahal's car there and bent his front wing. You see the right-hand front wing in Cogan's car. It's just gone out of shot, but the right-hand front wing is bent on that car. I would think he will be black flagged, or he'll make his own way into the pits to have that taken off. So the two Craco cars are now about to start running without the right front wing.
Michael Andretti, the other Craco driver, has already been lapped here because of his problem that he experienced early in the contest and had to come in the pits for. So the Craco team experiencing some tough luck here in the early going of this IndyCar race. And we see some dust being kicked up by one of the cars. Doesn't necessarily mean there's a spin, but it's very easy to get the right side tires off of the race course, as narrow as it is.
That's right. That was turn 4, one of the fastest turns on the track. And of course, these cars try and use every little bit of road, and sometimes a little bit of road that isn't there. Hence the dust, but not a problem this time.
Continue to run in pretty much the same order with Al Unser Jr. in second position, followed by Danny Sullivan in third. Fourth belongs to Roberto Guerrero, then Roberto Moreno, and in sixth place is Mario Andretti.
Moreno is the meat in the Andretti family sandwich here at the moment. We've had a report that actually Moreno and Mario have actually touched. They actually have banged wheels in Mario's efforts to pass Moreno. Mario is in a hurry. He wants to get by. And I would think he may want Michael to maybe give him a little bit of a help in this passing situation here.
Well, here's 5th, 6th, and 7th right behind Kevin Cogan. Moreno, Andretti, and Jeff Radley, who has suddenly closed the distance. Look at Mario smoke the left front tire there going into the corkscrew.
Mario, unusual that he's down in 6th position having to fight such battles. We're so accustomed to see Mario at the head of the field running away, but ever since Bobby Rahal punted him off of the Meadowlands, nothing has gone right for Mario. We've seen him being injured at Michigan. We've seen him lead at Cleveland. The car went on fire. We've seen him lead in other races, and mechanical breakage have forced him out. Nothing has gone right since the Meadowlands race. Mario, the man who we are almost accustomed to see being out in front.
Won the 4 races before the Meadowlands. Andretti had a first, a second, a first, and a first. And then, as you indicated, things started to go wrong for him. In that race at the Meadowlands, he finished 26th, and he has 3 top 10 finishes since then, but no higher than 7. Down to Gary Lee once again in the pit area.
Well, we had just mentioned that Kevin Kogan had been lapped, and then some contact was made between Kogan in car 18 and Bobby Rahal in car 3. Right now, they have changed all 4 tires, told Kevin to cut the engine, so the car is dead right now in the pit area. They're taking their time changing that right front wing. They've also been utilizing that pressured air bottle, trying to extinguish a very minor turbocharger fire in the back of the car. So the work is not all that frantic right now. They're simply taking their time. He's a long way back, and he's going to be back even further.
I don't think I've ever seen as much bumping going on out there in an IndyCar race. We've seen 2 or 3 cars come in now with body damage simply because they have run into another competitor.
And we see one of the competitors, Michael Andretti, creating the dust. Michael is the one that had the front wing broken. The very first car we saw, that'll cause the car to understeer off, and I think that's exactly what you saw in that last corner there. Just wasn't quite able to stay on the apex, moved out too wide, hit the dust, and had to back off. And Moreno and Dad Mario just sailed by.
Well, Roberto Moreno is doing a fine job here holding off the challenge of Mario Andretti. Mario has just not been able to close the gap and get around him on this very narrow 1.9-mile road course at Laguna Seca. Roberto Moreno, this is only his 4th race of 1985. He, of course, is an experienced road racer and does not compete on the ovals in the IndyCar World Series. And this is only his 4th race. His others have been at the Meadowlands, at the Mid-Ohio race, and he did compete at Elkhart also. Mario Andretti chasing him. Jeff Brabham running behind Andretti now in this race for 5th, 6th, and 7th spot.
We have the lap time for our leader, Bobby Rahal. His lap time on the last lap was 57.37, which compares with 54.16 for his qualifying time. So a good 2.5 seconds slower in the racing condition, which is very understandable because the tires are a little bit more worn, and of course the weight of the fuel.
There was no 1-lap record set here at Laguna Seca, mainly because it's been unseasonably hot here the last couple of days. We'll be back with more from Monterey, California.
Anchoring. I was very intimidated to work with Dave. I was so in awe of him, and I got very nervous and my heart started beating, and I began to talk in sort of a staccato, thinking I was going to faint. When we finally got to a commercial break, Dave Moore looked at me and he said, "Are you having a heart attack?"
With no money down. Tonka Ford has 50 of them. Tempo GL 4-doors with automatic transmission, tinted glass, AM/FM stereo, air conditioning, low mileage, and much more. Just $159 a month. That's without putting 1 cent down. And that's a purchase, not a lease. Just choose your color and drive one home today for $159 a month. Only at Tonka Ford.
We got what it takes. The all-new Tonka Ford.
First.
Well, depending upon what happens here at Laguna Seca, the points battle could even be closer when you join us next Sunday afternoon for a 150-mile IndyCar race at Phoenix International Raceway. Now, of course, the course has been repaved, and the speed should be very, very hot, and the competition should be great. Next Sunday at Phoenix. Here are the top runners at 24 of 98 laps completed. Bobby Rahal leading, Allister Jr. second, Danny Sullivan in 3rd spot. Running in 4th position is Roberto Guerrero, then Roberto Moreno, and Mario Andretti.
Since we've seen that, actually Moreno and Mario have touched again. Again, Mario has gone through. It did delay both of them a little bit because Jeff Brabham, in fact, passed both of them. So Jeff Brabham is now ahead of Mario, up in the position that his teammate Roberto Moreno did occupy.
Okay, so some positions have changed here in the last couple of laps. as we see Brabham up into fifth spot, about 19.5 seconds behind the leader. By the way, the interval between first and second at this point is almost 8 seconds. That's the lead that Bobby Rahal has over Al Unser Jr. Jeff Brabham, car number 7, running in 5th position.
And Mario running in 6th, right behind him. Mario was about to start attacking Brabham just as he did Moreno, because he eventually got by Moreno, but he snookered himself and got caught behind Brabham.
Brabham into the hairpin once again, and you actually get down into first gear going around that corner, don't you, Derry?
First gear, a little bit faster than the corkscrew, but the radar traps have got the cars going through that corner at just about 65 miles an hour all through our practice. So although 65 miles an hour in first gear sounds a lot, in fact, it feels walking pace for the race car drivers.
And the top speed on the track, which would probably be up past between turns 2 and 3, what, about 170 miles an hour or so?
175 to 177 was what the Beatrice radar trap had the fastest car during practice and qualifying there. 177.
Once again, down to Gary Lee.
Steve Horn is the crew chief for Bobby Rahal. It was a bonsai run late in qualifying yesterday to grab the pole, but it was a costly one. You had to change the engine. What happened yesterday?
We had an engine malfunction in the full tank run, and we had to put a fresh engine in. But the new one, all our engines are equal, so we don't feel we've got a problem.
Everything is okay from the cockpit?
He hasn't said anything, so I guess it must be.
Well, yesterday we heard Bobby Rahal say it was a matter of babying the tires because it was so hot, like 85 degrees. Today the temperature is like 20 degrees cooler, so the concern has lessened over the use of the tires. Now back to you.
All right, Gary. Al Unser Sr. is in for a pit stop, and Derek, I would guess that this would be the first of what we would consider routine pit stops because 27 laps have been completed.
It's interesting that Penske have come in first. That could be a nice little tactic to get a nice clear run into the pit lane. Roger Penske makes very few mistakes on stuff like this, so we can think that it's a nice tactical move to get Unser Sr. in and out as fast as possible.
Well, Al Unser Sr., who was not supposed to be a regular in the Penske team this year, but stepped into the regular spot when Rick Mears found that he just could not adequately perform on the road courses because of his injury that he suffered last year at San Air. And Al has been so consistent this year in his finishes that he is among those battling for the national championship, and that would be quite a story. A driver that was not supposed to be a regular coming on to win the title. There he is.
We hear that Rick may in fact drive a third Penske at Phoenix. He doesn't really want to drive the car if it takes away from Unser Sr.'s championship effort. But if there is enough cars and enough people left after this race, we do hear that Rick may in fact drive Phoenix again.
Yeah, that's been kind of the situation that the Penske team has been under for the past few races. If they don't damage a car, if there are 3 good cars available, and the next race is an oval, then they will run 3 cars with Rick in one and Al Unser Sr. in the other, and of course, Danny Sullivan. Well, what about next year for Al Unser Sr.? Will he be in the same situation as this year?
I don't know yet. You know, it's one of those guessing games. I guess if it was 20 years ago, like I said last year, I'd really be worried. But I really don't. You know, I don't want to give up. I love racing. Racing's been good to me, and I still enjoy it. But if the right deal doesn't come along and I'm happy with it, I'll just kind of sit around and watch everybody.
Well, it'll be a great loss in IndyCar racing when Al Unser Sr. finally does retire. And quite frankly, I don't expect it in the next couple of years. Well, a car is coming into the pit area without a tire, and that is the number 57 of Randy Lanier, and almost blocked the progress of Danny Sullivan, who was coming in at a pretty good rate of speed.
I would think that probably lost Danny 2 or 3 seconds, and that could be critical on this very first pit stop, because Rahal, who was already possibly 10 or 15 seconds ahead of Sullivan, is now 18 seconds ahead.
There's a good look at Danny Sullivan, who was this year's Indianapolis 500-mile race winner. He has completed his pit stop, the first of probably 2 that we will see during this race, and he goes back out into competition. Danny Sullivan was running 3rd when he came in for the pit stop.
This pit lane is very, very tight. We saw Sullivan turning left and getting blocked. Now, you might think, how do people get these pits selected? Well, Ray Hall has the number 1 pick because he was the man on the pole of the last race. So he selected pit number 1 because it's the slowest part of the pit lane.
And that is the situation with 31 of 98 laps completed. We'll be back with more of our Stroh's 300 in just a moment.
One of the world's best drivers talks about Ford quality.
Believe it or not, I'm actually riding on air. Forget about steel springs. This Continental rides on 4 columns of air. No other luxury car in the world, at any price, has suspension this sophisticated. You ought to feel this ride.
But you don't have to drive a luxury car to give your family a smooth ride. We designed 4-wheel, fully independent suspension into this Ford Tempo. See how each wheel reacts to bumps separately? You ought to feel this ride. Whether it's a luxury Continental or this Ford Tempo, we're building quality you can feel into all our suspension systems.
And I think you're going to like that feeling.
Ford, you'll feel the quality because quality is job 1.
Bob Jenkins, Derek Daly, Gary Lee, and Jack Arute back at Laguna Seca Raceway near Monterey, California for the Stroh's 300. 32 laps have been completed. Some of the front runners have been in, but most of them have not. We do expect, however, pit stops by the leaders in just a few moments. Danny Sullivan has been in, and he is now trying to work himself back up into contention out there on the racetrack. Danny Sullivan, that Miller American car number 4.
Sullivan lost a little bit of time, as we did see on that pit stop, but we're not sure whether that's going to cost him later on in the race or not.
Emerson Fittipaldi in the 711 car. The Pat Patrick owned machine is in for a stop. Emerson also one of those in contention for the championship. They're doing some work there at the front of the car, Derek. What are they doing?
Little wing adjustment, possibly for too much push on the chassis. They put a little bit more wing on it, and he goes out and tries it, and he can make another change in the next pit stop if necessary. Emerson has spent most of the weekend actually making regular chassis changes because he just is not quite able to get this car to his liking. And his starting position reflected this. And a man who's got 99 points in this championship race, lying 3rd, having won the Michigan 500, is really becoming slightly distressed with having to start mid-pack.
Well, he has not had a real good success in the last couple of races, but nevertheless is up there in the point standings. Emerson Fittipaldi, former world champion, and as I indicated, he could be not only a world champion, but an IndyCar champion, and the only other person that has had that distinction has been Mario Andretti.
Emerson would dearly love to have this because he has a renewed interest in racing. His Formula One career definitely died in the mid-80s. Here we see Roberto Guerrero in.
And he was running in 5th spot when he came in for the stop. The crew is changing tires on the right side of the car, and again a wing adjustment up there in the front.
The temperature is about 10 or 15 degrees cooler here on race day than it was during qualifying. So all these cars were set up in a very, very hot situation. I think the cooler temperatures make the tires work a little bit differently, and hence I think we're seeing these little chassis changes as the pit stops happen.
Bobby Rahal is in for his stop. The leader is in the pits. Let's go down to Gary, who is right there.
Bobby Rahal in for what appears to be a Ford tire change, topping off the field. Once again, it's much cooler. As Derek Daly has said, they can lean on the tires. The tires should last longer because the temperatures on the racing surface are lower this afternoon. A very fast stop. Rahal is underway.
It was an excellent pit stop. They changed all 4 tires and refueled the car, and Bobby Rahal blasts out of the pit area and rejoins the hunt. Bobby Rahal from Dublin, Ohio, was the leader before he came in for the stop. Now, as far as I know, Alonzer Jr. has not been in for his pit stop, so he's the leader at this point, but he will have to come in shortly to get some fuel and probably change the tires.
Rahal just lost 2 positions in that little pit stop. He's now running 3rd. I would think we probably won't see a better first pit stop for any team than we just saw with a well-oiled True Sports team there. They have given Bobby possibly another little advantage on top of the ones he's able to build himself actually on the track.
And now Al Unser Jr. comes in for his stop. So the leader in the kart points is in for his first of the afternoon. Here's Jack Arute.
And Dennis Swan goes to work on the right side tires. They're exchanging 3 tires right now. A lot of the fire coming out from beneath the turbocharger, nothing to be concerned about. Al Unser Jr. continues to rev the engine. He's waiting for the jack to drop. Now they'll complete a 4-tire change, fill the car with fuel. A very good stop. He engages the gearbox, an uphill run out of pit road and back to the racing surface.
It looked to be a good stop, but I don't think it was quite as swift as Bobby Rahal's was.
The only good thing is we didn't see any chassis changes, no wing adjustments at all for Al Unser Jr. So he must be very happy the way his race car is running at the moment. So Al Unser Jr., no chassis changes, just tires.
He comes out on the racetrack right behind Emerson Fittipaldi and right ahead of Danny Sullivan. So we are standing by to get a readjustment of the standings, and Mario Andretti was the leader, but now here he comes in for his first pit stop of the day, and this will give Bobby Rahal the lead once again. Mario stops at his pit, and let's go down for the call of that action.
Mario Andretti has his car up on the onboard pneumatic jacks. The crew goes to work. Andretti looks over to make sure they're going to change all 4 tires, loaded up with a full load of fuel. They, too, are going to make a slight wing adjustment. They've made the exchange, waiting for the completion of the fuel. They drop the jacks, very slow coming out of the pits and engaging the gearbox, but he's off and away.
And smoking the tires as he does. Now, Derek, as he comes out, how careful will he have to be to warm up the tires and get them to good adhesion temperature?
Extremely careful now, because we saw him as he left the pit lane. The white labels are still on these tires and running around. You see those white streaks? They're the new labels Goodyear have on these tires. He's on brand new tires, which is unusual. They usually scrub them for a couple of laps beforehand.
And he is passed by both Jeff Brabham and Roberto Guerrero as he comes out of the pit area. We'll be back with more live action on this Sunday afternoon right after these messages.
If you just ask for a light beer,
I'll have a light.
You never know what you'll get.
That's me packing the car. Best vacation ever. Here's Rock City, Texas, L.A., all in 3 days.
Bud Light.
Here I am in Death Valley. That's me looking for water.
So if you want the less filling light beer with the first name and taste...
Wait, there's more.
Ask for Bud Light, because everything else...
Give me a light.
...is just a light.
That's me packing the car. Best vacation...
Mobil One Synthetic Motor Oil. The technology behind it gives this driver engine protection he can depend on. And this driver. And this driver. And this driver. Mobil Synthetic Oil Technology. There's no finer engine protection on Earth or anywhere else.
Tuesday, ESPN Slams and Jams deliver a full night of bone-crushing action. First, you're cruising for a bruising on AWA Wrestling.
So you don't like it? We don't care. You get in the way, we'll bust your face.
Then another roller derby war on wheels. The T-Birds have plans for the War Chiefs, and it won't be pretty. Next, Pro Football Arm Wrestling singles out the strongest men in the game for a little friendly one-on-one competition. Slams, Jams, and more Tuesday.
IndyCar racing from California with Bobby Rahal leading the Strohs 300 at Laguna Seca. 16 seconds behind this man, Al Unser Jr. in car number 30, and you can see the interval between second and third. Not all that great. It's less than a second. Danny Sullivan hangs in third position. So the first set of pit stops have been completed, and we continue with the same standings as we had before the pit stops occurred. And we have this second place battle really not affected by the first pit stop.
Unser Jr. and Sullivan very well aware that they must finish this race. So I'm sure they're quite prepared to sit and race each other and not take too many chances. Sullivan, of course, following the Domino's car, the car that he drove last year.
Well, we mentioned earlier that Howdy Holmes had what appeared to be a very serious accident in the corkscrew during practice earlier this weekend. He did spend some time in the hospital, but we're very glad to report that he is not only out of the hospital, but in attendance here this afternoon, and Gary Lee is with him.
Indeed, we are happy that Howdy Holmes is a spectator. First of all, how's the physical condition?
Well, I guess I felt better, but on the other hand, I think I'm pretty lucky to be sitting here.
Obviously, the mind does wonders when that happens. It blocks out the memory of the accident. But have you gotten bits and pieces from observers or witnesses?
I think Rick Mears, who isn't driving this weekend, happened to be in that section of the track timing, and he was the first one onto the scene. And apparently the car went end over end a couple of times and ended up on my head. And my head was in some dirt. Apparently I was close to a couple of minutes not being able to get in the air, and I think if it wasn't for Rick, I wouldn't be here.
And of course, Rick, Dr. Terry Trammell, the entire medical facility there, and we're glad to see you're here, and we hope to see you back very soon.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
All right, Emerson Fittipaldi has pulled off of the course, and Emerson calls it a day. There is one of the 6 drivers in contention for the national championship who will score no points here this weekend.
I think that little incident with Emerson could spell the end of his championship hopes, because the car is not quite on the pace, so he needed consistency, and he needed to pick up points wherever they were, be they 5th or 6th or 7th or 8th. He needed to pick up points. That may be the last time you'll see Emerson in contention for the championship this year.
As we watch Bobby Rahal negotiate the corkscrew once again, we'll kind of elaborate on really how serious this Howdy Holmes accident was. The car came to rest upside down, and Howdy's neck was in such a position that it had cut off his air supply, and he was not breathing when the medics got to him. He was quickly revived. Not only was the car upside down, but it was also on fire. There was a turbocharger fire in the engine, and Rick Mears directed, we understand, the firefighting team, and Rick Mears certainly had a lot to do with being Johnny on the spot and directing the rescue of Howdy Holmes, and perhaps contributed to the fact that Howdy was not seriously injured in that crash. 43 laps have been completed. 98 will make up this 300-kilometer race here at Laguna Seca. Bobby Rahal is the leader of our race. He has been the leader basically all race long, with the exception of the laps that he was in for a pit stop and was working his way back up. He is the defending champion of this race here at Laguna Seca. He started second and won last year at this racetrack, and it was his second win in a row.
When Bobby makes it look so easy, as he does at races like this, as he did races like Mid-Ohio, you wonder why he didn't win races at the start of the year, but they just couldn't do anything right at the start of the year. Had little problems, mechanical problems, but Steve Horn is the chief mechanic who's masterminding this superb run for the championship for Bobby Rahal and True Sports, and they have everything going for them at the moment. They are going to be the #1 strongest contenders.
We understand that Emerson Fittipaldi's 711 March blew an engine, and that's the reason that he pulled off of the racetrack and has dropped out of competition. Emerson Fittipaldi. Now, Ari Lyondike in car number 61 is doing a fine job out there. He is in 9th position and still on the lead lap. He is, by and large, going to be the Rookie of the Year for 1985, and not only at the Indianapolis 500, but for the entire series. Ari Lyondike driving the Provimi Field car.
This, of course, is the team that I drove for last year, the team that I was on the front row of the grid with here 2 years ago. And Ari came to the team having won the Super B Championship, and he really has come on in leaps and bounds. We did several test sessions together last year, and he was very, very good. He settled in well with Vicky Sims, his new team manager. And although they haven't got the type of finance that the front runners have, they have made very good use of every dollar they've had to spend. And Ari really has behaved himself. The only little bit of damage he's done, I think, was at Mid-Ohio when he was trying to get on the front row of the grid. He was, in fact, 3rd fastest when he had an accident. But Ari Lyondike, Rookie of the Year, 6th place, 5th place at Indianapolis. He has done a superb job for the Provimi Veal team.
Hasn't been in IndyCar racing all that long. He made his debut in this series at Elkhart Lake. Last year he finished 8th in that race. And this year he is 17th in the PPG Cup point standings with 27. This is his first visit to Laguna Seca. He did not compete here last year. There is Bobby Rahal, who is leading our 300-kilometer event here. Running in second position is Al Unser Jr., and third is Danny Sullivan. We'll return with more live coverage.
Say goodbye to tender, cramped 5 o'clock feet. Say goodbye to sore, blistered 5 o'clock feet. Say goodbye to hot, sweaty 5 o'clock feet. Say goodbye to all the shoes that make you think about your feet. Change to Red Wings and get all-day comfort that makes 5 o'clock feet just a bad memory. Red Wings, so comfortable, you forget your feet.
When was the last time you had a car like this to drive? Talking about the kind of car that brings the road alive. Remember when? How long has it been? Put the key in, put your foot down. Let it go. You got that feeling again. Have you driven a Ford? Then you don't know what you're missing. Have you driven a Ford lately? Have you driven a Ford? Then you don't know what you're missing. Have you driven a Ford? Driven a Ford? Have you driven a Ford lately?
Some say he came from a distant planet. Others say he's from Dayton.
Trace-like tough guy.
He brought an army with him.
Tune-up.
Here, sir.
Smooth sail.
Yo.
Motor honey.
Here, TG.
About face.
Equipped with the trusty double money-back guarantees, they fearlessly fight
Company.
the enemies of your car.
Seca.
Trace-like tough guy.
The K-Side Army's available at auto departments throughout the universe.
Well done, troops.
Look for the tough guy, or use your magic decoder ring.
Tom Sneva has spun off course in that number 2 Skoll Bandit car, and he gets a push, and it looks like we'll be able to rejoin the field. Tom started this race in 23rd position, qualifying at 119.951 miles an hour, about 7 miles an hour off of the pole sitting speed. But Tom Sneva, nevertheless, hanging in there and trying his best, and certainly road courses are not his forte.
Tom, so long known as the Gas Man, became the Sandman of Las Vegas a couple of years ago. Well, Tom is in the sand again.
There's his teammate, Ed Pym, who is running right ahead of Ari Leyendijk on the racetrack. Pym, you recall, was in for an early pit stop, but apparently has things corrected in that car and is back on the gas. Ari Leyendijk, we continue to follow his progress now. Here is 4th, 5th, and 6th position. Jeff Brabham is running 4th. Mario Andretti is 5th, and Roberto Guerrero is running in 6th spot. There's Jeff Brabham, and there coming into the picture is Mario Andretti. You can see the interval between them, and there is Roberto Guerrero.
Traffic will play a big part from here on in now, because the first 6 cars are constantly catching and passing the lower running cars, the back markers. So when you see the gap open and close, it's not because the driver goes faster or slower from his own accord. It's because he gets caught in traffic, and you can't always commit yourself to a high-speed corner if there's another car in the way.
Dennis Firestone has also slid off course or pulled off course. That is near corner number 4. And Dennis is going to call it a day here. He's on the inside of the racetrack near corner number 4. Dennis Firestone, who makes his home out here in California.
Dennis started here as a promoter's option because they had a lot of trouble trying to get this chassis set up for the further qualifying, and they did have some serious gearbox problems.
Raul Boisel in car number 22 being shown in 12th position, a lap down, and Right behind him is Jeff Brabham. Raul Boisel, another one of those who is a specialist on the road courses. This is a car that is owned by the Dick Simon team, and when they race on the ovals, Dick Simon is either a teammate or drives the car exclusively. But on the road courses, Raul Boisel is the chauffeur.
Raul is very much Dick Simon's protege at the moment. He's training him, bringing him into the team slowly for a full season next year.
Arie Luyendyk, who we had talked about and watched on the screen for several laps, has come into the pit area. And obviously it is something other than a scheduled pit stop. So we'll watch Arie Luyendyk to see if he is out of the race. The interval between first and second is 22 seconds. And the interval between second, third, and fourth is really not all that great, as Jeff Brabham closes in on Danny Sullivan, who is not very far ahead of Allenser Jr.
Again, we see Mario closed up rapidly on Jeff Brabham. That was because Brabham was slowed down trying to lap Boisel. Mario took full advantage of it, closed up, and now is in a much better position to try and make a move on Jeff if Jeff should make a mistake or get caught in traffic again.
Championships, of course, being decided in all types of racing during this season of the year. Earlier today, we hope you were watching ESPN when Jackie Stewart and Larry Newber described how Alain Prost has wrapped up the world driving title for 1985. We have a lot of dust, and that's Johnny Rutherford, who has come in contact with something and has bent the suspension and damaged the front end of the car. That again is at turn number 4, and Derek, that seems to be the area of the racetrack that we have seen most of the action here today. And Raul Boisel has blown an engine and pulled off course. We don't know whether or not these two incidents are related. Nevertheless, and we have what looks to be a graveyard of used cars down there near turn number 4.
Well, Johnny is actually on the inside of turn 4. He did hit on the outside. It looks, from what we can see, that he got caught on Boisel's oil. It did look as if he got caught on the oil, spun off, and you can see that left front suspension, and the nose box is completely gone off that car.
Well, let's go down to Gary Lee for this report from the pit area.
I have heard it said that luck is when preparation meets opportunity. Well, this may be the sign of a well-prepared team. We're down here in the True Sport Budweiser area, the Bobby Rahal team, and these are the Gatorback rain tires. There was a forecast of 30 to 40% chance of showers throughout the day here in the Monterey Peninsula area. If you look back over turn 9, some very ominous looking clouds, so we could still have that threat of rain. And just in case, the Rahal crew brought out the Gatorback rain tires.
Well, that's an interesting situation. I had not noticed that. We're facing the other direction, but as you described it, when we look over our left shoulder, the clouds are rather dark back there, and there could indeed be some light rain that affects this race before it's all over. You know, as we saw Johnny Rutherford there pulled off course and out of the race after having come in contact with a car or a barrier, we want to explain, perhaps some of you are not aware of the fact that Johnny Rutherford has been given back his victory, or been given the victory at San Air, and the appeal that he filed after Pancho Carter was declared the winner was accepted, and Johnny Rutherford is the winner of the race earlier this year at San Air.
We watch Rahal complete another lap just around the hairpin. We have news that Mario, in fact, has passed Jeff Brabham. Mario has taken 4th position from Jeff Brabham. Brabham now in 5th. Let's go down to Jack Arute in the pit lane.
And we're with the current leader of the rookie point standings for CART, Arie Luyendyk, and you're out of the race. Arie, what actually happened?
Well, I was just going into turn 4, and all of a sudden the engine just sounded like a Chevrolet, and the exhaust, the main exhaust, which goes to the turbo flange, just broke in half, and so I lost all the power, and there's no point to continue then.
Having put in about 50 laps here, and the track conditions are so much different than they were yesterday when everybody took their carburation shakedown. What has that done to a lot of the cars?
Well, today I picked up a lot of push because the track has cooled down a little bit. The front tires don't get that hot, and with all the rubber being put down, the track gets really slippery, especially in turn 9 and in the corkscrew.
Well, gentlemen, to let you know, too, the wind has picked up considerably down here, and that'll raise problems in turn 9, won't it, Derek?
Indeed, it will. Wind and temperature changes do greatly affect these cars. Wind because these cars depend so much on how the air flows over and under these cars because of the ground effects. So if the wind, particularly in the high-speed corners, if it comes up anymore, these cars could have problems. Here we have Tom Sneva, has a problem of his own. We saw him spin earlier on. Now he has made hard contact with something. It looks as if he's hit that little bridge parapet we see on the right-hand side. It has torn that suspension off. Happily, Tom is okay.
Well, he appears to be, although he may be suffering some pain here. He was a little slow getting out of that race car, indicating that he may have been trapped momentarily. Now he's kind of walking gingerly, limping over to the guardrail. And Tom Sneva may not be completely well here. He sits down now, and he looks like he may have an ankle injury now, or a leg injury. This is in turn number 6, right at the corkscrew, the top of the corkscrew. And the safety personnel are stationed right there. Now, Steve Edwards is there on the right, and other CART medical personnel are talking with him, trying to find out if he has pain, and if so, where, so that they might do some treatment of the injury.
It's not been a good weekend for Tom. This is the Lola he ran as opposed to the Eagle that he has run most of the year, but he did choose to run the Lola T900, and it just didn't quite go as he wanted to. Started very far back, and we saw him spin earlier on, and now he's out of the race. Not a very good weekend for Tom, the gas man, but he is still got every bit of ability that he always ever had.
Yeah, and if he isn't injured, you really got to think that he is among those very capable, in fact, maybe even a favorite next weekend on the Oval at Phoenix. He loves that racetrack. Now, the battle for second suddenly becomes a very good and heated one as Al Unser Jr. finds Danny Sullivan right on his back bumper. Now, there is Ed Pym right ahead of Al Unser Jr. And we have a tremendous battle here. Mario Andretti also joins this. So second, third, and fourth here running right together on the racetrack, being led by a backmarker, Ed Pym.
Well, this is what we said earlier on.
Mario, a nice move to the inside out, breaking Danny Sullivan, moving into third.
Earlier on, we said that Mario had to get by the people he was dicing with. Moreno and Brabham were definitely looking as if they were holding him up. It took him a long, long time to get by these other competitors. He is now by. He's very quickly caught the rest of the leading bunch, and now he is right back in the championship hunt again.
An interesting place, though, that he chose to pass. So maybe just kind of grit your teeth and hold on to that situation.
It looked as if Sullivan was slightly held up by Ed Pym, who was actually on the perfect racing line. Sullivan hesitated a little bit, and Mario just shot down, took full advantage.
Now we have a full yellow that is being displayed on the racetrack. The pace car will come out. This is probably because of the Tom Sneva accident, not so much that there is an injury to the driver, but because there is a lot of debris up in that area of the racetrack. So what they're going to do is bring the pace car out, slow the field down, get everything cleaned up, and then we'll go back to racing. What this is going to do, though, is really bunch up the field and perhaps make a very exciting second half of this race. Here once again is the pass by Andretti. Watch it on the far right side of your screen.
We actually didn't quite catch him past Sullivan, but you see Ed Pym in the green car was actually on the ideal racing line. Danny Sullivan was caught behind him, and Mario just turned left and shot straight down the inside. A perfect pass by Mario, took full advantage of a situation that was unusual down at the hairpin.
So the pace car is out. The yellow is being displayed on this 1.9-mile road course at Laguna Seca. We'll be right back.
FM. We have a long, long list of songs we like to play. Because you have a long, long list of songs you like to hear. And when you play as many songs as we do, the disc jockeys can hardly get a word in edgewise. We're heavy on music at W Light 103 FM.
Day with no money down. Tonka Ford has 50 of them. Tempo GL 4-doors with automatic transmission, tinted glass, AM/FM stereo, air conditioning, low mileage, and much more. Just $159 a month. That's without putting 1 cent down. And that's a purchase, not a lease. Just choose your color and drive one home today for $159 a month. Only at Tonka Ford. We got what it takes. The all-new Tonka Ford.
We are at Laguna Seca Raceway in Monterey, California for an IndyCar race, the Stroh's 300, and the full yellow is being displayed over the course because of debris on the racetrack. Tom Sneva has crashed in turn number 6, and there was a lot of debris up there. We were also told that there could have been some contact between Tom Sneva and Al Unser Sr. prior to that accident. There is Al Unser Sr. right there in the yellow car number 5.
Now, the pace car hasn't actually picked up Rahal. It's picked up Steve Chassis. So we're going to have to wait for maybe another lap or two to see does the pace car wave these people by and keep Rahal, who's the race leader, and second, third, and fourth. The next car is behind the pace car.
The computer is showing that Danny Sullivan is in second position and that Roberto Moreno is in third position with Al Unser Jr. the leader, but I don't believe that to be the case. We'll get this all sorted out in just a moment for you as we are under yellow. But right now, our inside track report for you. This is the STP Inside Track Report, brought to you by the STP Corporation. On the world's racetracks and on the world's roads, depend on STP, your car care company. The CART B-Series will be a reality in 1986. It'll be called the American Racing Series. Plans were announced yesterday here at Laguna Seca. The 3 principals involved in the effort: IndyCar owner Pat Patrick, Miami race promoter Ralph Sanchez, and former March employee Roger Bailey. We talked to Sanchez about the details of the series.
Jack, the most important thing is to be able to bring a series that will serve as a stepping stone between the Super Vs right now that have, 200 horsepower, and to the CART series that have cars that have 700 plus horsepower. Right now, there's very much of a need in that creating that in-between series.
Perhaps the drivers that will be involved most in the CART B Series are the current Super V drivers. They're also competing this weekend here at Laguna Seca, and we sampled the opinion of some of the Super V competitors.
As far as for the series, I think it's a good idea because we definitely need something to have as a step between the Indy cars and the Super Vs. There's just too much horsepower difference, weight difference, and speed difference, just the whole bit.
Well, I think it opens it up to just about all the series, this professional series that are running right now. It just comes down to dollars and cents. I think Super V drivers will probably more so, if they have the money, go to that type of thing because they do want to go, of course, to Indy cars. And the basic reason for the B series, of course, is to give young drivers like myself or anybody else in a pro series to get experience without really being out and rubbing wheels with the Marios and the Foyts and the Sullivans and kind of running their own series. And I think that's what it basically started out to be. So that's basically where I think they'll get all their competitors if they can come up with the kind of money it's going to take to do it.
I don't know. If it does go, I've heard that they're going to take most of the Super V dates from the Super V, series. So then I'm not sure where that's going to put Super V, but it is going to be a lot more money. They had talked, I guess, before about it being almost as expensive or right around the Super V budget, but it doesn't seem to me how it's going to be able to work that way. I think it's going to be close to be, near $500,000, I would imagine, to run the V car series if you really want to do it right.
CART officials hope to have the 1986 schedule ready for release within a week to 10 days. There's been a lot of talk about the Milwaukee date being moved from its traditional first weekend in June to first weekend in May. However, CART officials say that as it looks right now, Milwaukee will retain its traditional first weekend in June date, the first race after the Indianapolis 500. There was testing at Phoenix International Raceway earlier this week. Rick Mears was near the track record. Phoenix, of course, has been repaved, and there will be a 150-mile IndyCar race there next Sunday that we'll have live for you here on ESPN. And Patrick Tambay has signed to join Alan Jones as team member on the Beatrice Formula One effort for 1986. And that's this week's STP Inside Track Report. Well, Jack Arute was going to offer some comments there on the so-called CART B series, although this series that they announced yesterday with Ralph Sanchez and Pat Patrick and Roger Bailey, formerly of March, was certainly in no way resembling what the CART B series was announced yesterday. And Jack, we understand you very stupidly turn your mic off. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. When you're a knucklehead, you're a knucklehead.
That's right.
What can I say?
All right. More on the series. You attended the press conference yesterday in which the announcement was made.
Yes, Bob, and the thing that was interesting was the mixture of people that are there. It was really filled half with press and also half with the Super V drivers, and they were all listening attentively. But I think the key issues that came up was that they had indeed signed a 3-year contract with CART to run a minimum of 10 races. Mr. Sanchez also alluded to the fact that their idea was to keep the total overall budget per team at under $250,000. Now, the third and final point that I think is important to note is the way they're going to determine who will drive in the American Racing Series. You'll have to qualify as far as driver ability, and they're right now negotiating with Wally Dallenbach, who is a CART director, to try and come in and give them a list of available drivers. Then you will have to qualify financially to lease the car. But more importantly, the 25 drivers that will be selected by the principals of American Racing Incorporated. So it's not open to anybody. It's open only to a few, actually 25.
Jack, we appreciate your efforts working pit road and all around the circuit, and we excuse you for turning off your microphone. And we don't think you're a knucklehead. All right, we've had pit stops made during this full course yellow. At the moment, the number 6 car of Roberto Moreno is shown in the lead with Jeff Brabham running second. We'll be right back.
These men are on their way to work. Their office, the Pennzoil Penske Super Truck. Inside, a car designed to win championships. Only one motor oil makes it inside the truck. Only one motor oil makes it inside this race car. Pennzoil.
Around here, Pennzoil protection is part of the equipment.
Protect your home from fire and theft with quality supplies from the Fire Prevention and Security Center at True Value Hardware stores. Like this Schlage single-cylinder deadbolt with a 1-inch throw bolt and strike frame reinforcer that resists kick-in attacks. Put out small household fires with the Kit of Force 9 Halon fire extinguisher, which leaves no messy residue. And protect valuables and important papers in the Sentry Fire Safe Security Chest from participating True Value Hardware stores and home centers.
Well, the National Hockey League is back on ESPN with an exclusive 3-year national cable agreement, and it all begins Sunday, October the 13th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Philadelphia at Washington will have games throughout the year as the National Hockey League returns to ESPN, and we are certainly glad to have this exclusive contract with the NHL. Now, you're watching the camera position above the corkscrew. That's on a cherry picker that's 80 feet in the air. And as he shoots down on the corkscrew, it gives us a tremendous view of it. The only thing it doesn't show properly is the fact that it is so steep and such an elevation change. Well, as far as career winning percentages are concerned, A.J. Foyt has the most prolific percentage as far as wins are concerned with 22, but Rick Mears isn't far behind with 20. And Mario Andretti, Bobby Unser, Al Unser Sr., Gordon Johncock, Johnny Weatherford, and Tom Sneva. Those drivers have competed in more than 100 events, but these younger drivers, so to speak, also have very impressive statistics, as Bobby Rahal has won 13.7% of the races that he has competed in. Danny Sullivan, a little over 12. Here Here at Laguna Seca, the situation is that Roberto Moreno is the leader in car number 6. There he is on the racetrack, following one of the back markers. In second position is the team car as he makes a pass there going into the hairpin turn. In second position is Jeff Brabham, the team car. In third spot is Al Unser Jr. Then in fourth is Bobby Rahal, and fifth is Danny Sullivan. The question is now, some of these drivers have been in for pit stops. The question is now, can Roberto Moreno hold on to the lead for the final few laps of this race? We're on lap number 67 out of 98. He's got quite a ways to go, but it's going to be interesting to see if Moreno can hold on here and win his first IndyCar race.
That's right. The two Gallus cars of Moreno and Jeff Brabham stayed out. That's why they now lead the pack at the moment. Al Unser Jr., Rahal, Sullivan, and Mario did pit. Unser Jr. did have the best of the pit stops, actually made up a position on Rahal. That's why we now have the two Gallus cars and Unser Jr. at the head of the actual competitive 4-car pack. We see Moreno, we look for Moreno and Brabham having to stop, but there is a possibility that Unser Jr., Rahal, Mario, and Sullivan may be able to go the full distance here.
So it really is not likely that Moreno can hold on to the lead unless he really turns it on here and gets a big advantage, because he must stop for his second pit stop of the race, whereas most of the others have been in for their second stop. And you can see that Al Unser Jr. is closing the gap rather quickly, so looks like Moreno will not have the lead very long. Well, let's take a look at what happened to Jeff Brabham, who missed turn 9, got very high on the racetrack, and Al Unser Jr. was able to pass him.
There's a lot of action down at turn 9 this afternoon. A lot of outbraking. We see Brabham just outfoxed, outbraked himself, went offline and allowed Al Unser Jr. just to nip down inside him.
30 laps to go as 98 will make up this 300-kilometer race. There is Roberto Moreno, the leader. And a little bit of racetrack. Moreno suddenly pulls off. The car just dies on him right at the start-finish line. He pulls off of the racetrack, and so Roberto Moreno's moment in glory is no longer, and he is out of the race. He did lead, however, for several laps and put on a good show, but all of a sudden, as he came out of the hairpin right at the start-finish line, the car died, and he pulled off course.
We have an interesting situation now coming up. We have 30 laps to go. The Unser Jr., Rahal, Sullivan, and Mario all stopped just about 27, 28, 29 laps on their first stop. So if they're going to finish this race without making another stop, they're going to have to baby the car just a little bit. They're just going to have to conserve their fuel a little bit. So racing is the first priority, but they're going to have to conserve fuel, or else some of those leaders are going to have to make another pit stop.
Very interesting situation. They may have pitted just a little bit early to carry them the full distance if they wanted to remain at speed. But for right now, Al Unser Jr. is the leader, and Jeff Brabham running second, Bobby Rahal back to third, Danny Sullivan fourth, and Mario Andretti moves up to fifth position. Sixth spot belongs to Al Unser Sr. Seventh is Roberto Guerrero. Eighth is number 32 car of Jan Lammers, who is a rookie this year on the IndyCar trail, competing in only his second IndyCar race. In 9th position, is car number 20, Bruno Giacomelli. Then after that, Jose Lee Garza, Rupert Keegan, and the number 99 of Michael Andretti. Andretti and Keegan are 2 laps down to the field.
Unser Jr., some people say the best young American racing driver at the moment. Just about recovered from the injuries he received at Elkhart Lake when he crashed while leading.
There is Roberto Moreno, and it could very well be that the reason that car just suddenly died on him was he ran out of fuel. There was no smoke or anything from the engine, nothing to indicate that something mechanically went wrong. Could very well be that he simply ran out of fuel. That is rather bad calculations on his part, because there was a full course yellow, and he had the opportunity to come in and fill the car up with fuel.
We see Jeff Brabham, who's obviously running on a lighter fuel load now, has now caught up with Al Unser Jr. again. So Brabham's got over his little problem. And we have a report from Gary, who's down in the pit lane on Bobby Rahal's fuel situation. Down to you, Gary.
Well, indeed, as Bobby Rahal is dancing with the pedals and working with a 5-speed gearbox, his crew is in the pit area working with a pocket calculator. And their calculations are right now that even with the boost turned all the way up, he can go the distance, but just barely. In fact, we said, "Are you sure, Steve Horn?" He said, "Ask me after the race." It is just that close.
Well, that remains to be seen, but it certainly creates some excitement for us that are watching the race and for the spectators who have gathered here this afternoon. There's the leader, Al Unser Jr. We'll be back with more from Laguna Seca Raceway.
Do-it-yourselfers you just can't beat. Jiffy Lube Complete. Women on the go you just can't beat. Jiffy Lube Complete. Jiffy Lube is an oil change with a major brand, a new oil filter, a chassis lube, a check and fill of all under-the-hood fluids, and much more with no appointment. We're fast, we're good, we're complete. Police departments, you just can't beat. Jiffy Lube Complete. Vacationers, you just can't beat. Jiffy Lube Complete, the stamp of a savvy driver.
Can put you in a brand new Mighty Max pickup. And look what that $99 a month gets you. 1,600-pound payload, double wall 7-foot cargo box, carpeting, tinted glass, radial tires, tilt wheel, power brakes, 18-gallon fuel tank, and more. Just $99 a month. This factory lease program is a limited offer. So don't get stuck in a high-price truck. Get a Mighty Max for $99. If you don't get your new Mighty Max from Wayzata Mitsubishi, you're blowing the best truck deal in town.
Business address.
We're glad you could join us on this Sunday afternoon for live IndyCar racing from Monterey, California, the Strohs 300. Right now, the leader is Al Unser Jr. Right behind him in second position, the black number 7, driven by Jeff Brabham. Right behind Brabham is the third place car of Bobby Rahal. Then is Danny Sullivan and Mario Andretti. And because we just had the full course yellow, all of these drivers are running right together on the racetrack. One car has pulled out of competition and, in fact, is stopped right along the pit road near the start-finish line. That's Dominic Dobson, who is making his very first IndyCar start here this afternoon.
We've seen the first 4 come through. Mario Andretti is lying in 5th place. He's just a couple of seconds back, so we look to Mario to catch up with this leading bunch and make it a 5-car train for the lead in just another couple of laps.
And there is Rupert Keegan, who is pulling into the pit area. The car went very slowly down the hill and did make it to the pit area, so Keegan is either out of fuel or suffering from some mechanical problems. Here come the leaders once again, braking, going into the hairpin. We often speak about how a driver outbrakes another. What do you really have to do to outbrake another driver, Gary?
You can see when they arrive at this first gear left-hand hairpin where all the cars suddenly close up together under braking. Well, outbraking is trying to outmaneuver, outfox somebody else. And the only way you can do it is to brake later than the other driver. So if you can approach the corner a little bit faster, move offline and brake deeper, not only do you block the line from the other car, but you give him no chance to retaliate back against him. So outbraking is one of the best and safest ways to pass a car.
Al Unser Jr. looking for his 3rd IndyCar win of 1985 is on the lead right now.
Running nice and consistently. His last 3 lap times were 57.2 seconds, 57.4 seconds, and 57.6 seconds. So Al Unser Jr. running at a nice, controlled, consistent pace in the lead at the moment.
His 2 wins were back-to-back at the Meadowlands and at Cleveland earlier this year on the road course. And we have a spin at the hairpin. That is Kevin Cogan, who has spun down there. There appeared to be a bit of a turbocharger fire there just for a moment. It is out, however. The car is stalled, though. Kevin Cogan off the race course right at the entrance to the hairpin.
Cogan actually spun entering the corner. That happens when the rear brakes lock up. You lose the drive. We have another spinner, Steve Chassis. The second time he spun exiting the corkscrew. Now, the last time you remember, he almost collected Bobby Rahal. This time he spun a 360. We have another spinner, Randy Lanier. This is the day for spins. We wonder if there's something wrong up there. Has there been oil down? This is the top of the corkscrew. There maybe Chassis and Randy Lanier got together, but this is the day for the spins and the action.
There's also some speculation that it may be raining lightly up there in that area of the racetrack. It's on top of the hill. No confirmation of that from any of our spotters, but there obviously is something wrong at that location on the racetrack. Alonso Jr. from Albuquerque, New Mexico, leading the point standings right now with 2 races to go after this one at Phoenix, and then the season finale at Miami, Florida later this year. Unser Jr., Jeff Brabham, Bobby Rahal. Those are the top 3 with 77 and 98 laps completed. We'll be back in just a moment.
This is the skid pad, the ultimate test in adhesion, where car and tire get pushed to the limit, where for the first time, a street tire on a standard production car achieved 0.95 G. The Goodyear Eagle VR50, engineered for cars with the proper qualifications.
It's one thing to say you fight friction. It's another thing to prove it. Kendall Motor Oil did. First, ordinary piston rings were plated with pure gold. Then, a prestigious independent laboratory ran them under stop-and-go driving conditions for 5,000 miles. The results? Look, Kendall protected the soft gold. A remarkable test only Kendall has taken. Now, doesn't that tell you something? Kendall Motor Oil, for protection worth its weight in gold.
Thursday, the Washington Capitals and the New York Rangers face off in the season premiere of live and exclusive NHL action on ESPN. It's a brand new season for 2 of last year's playoff teams. The Capitals and Rangers, the NHL's best, premiering live Thursday only on ESPN. Next Saturday, the best of the Big 8 meet live on ESPN. Heisman hopeful Thurman Thomas leads Oklahoma State against Nebraska next Saturday.
We are back at Laguna Seca Raceway in Monterey, California, and here is a driver who is doing a fine job this afternoon. This is Jan Lammers in car number 32. He is running in 8th position. He is a lap down in the field. I said earlier this is his 2nd IndyCar race. Actually, it's his 3rd of the year. He competed previously at Portland and at the Meadowlands. Jan Lammers, who makes his home in Zandvoort, Holland, which is, of course, the site of the Dutch Grand Prix, and Jan has experience in Europe and competing regularly in an Alpine Renault series over there, but has turned in really some outstanding performances in IndyCars this year. I can recall at the Portland race, although he finished 16th, he had joined the top 10 before the car gave out on him.
Most recently, his racing activities have been in the World Endurance Racing Series with the Canon Porsche, and last weekend in the Jaguar, the new Jaguar Group C car in Europe, he partnered Alan Jones.
Well, Johnny Rutherford, the winner of the Sanair IndyCar race earlier this year, is out of the race here this afternoon. Here's Jack Arute.
And for Johnny Rutherford, it won't be victory lane today. Johnny, what actually happened out on the racetrack?
Well, the car pushed the front end a little bit in turn 3 and just took me to the edge of the road and dropped the right sides off in that gravel, and it gets really touchy then when you've only got 2 wheels getting traction. The car got off of the road and started to turn sideways, and I cranked it around. It went the other way just as I slid under the bridge, and it took the front wings and the nose cone off there, and that was the extent of the damage as far as I could see, so it was very little. We were lucky.
Little damage, but we're standing down here in the pits, and we can feel the sprinkles coming, and the temperature has dropped a great deal. As a driver, would they have to begin to make a choice maybe of looking at maybe coming in the late stages for rain tires?
Well, if it does any more than it's doing right now, obviously it'll be up to the crew chiefs to call the guys in for rain tires, or for CART to say it's not really safe under these conditions and stop the race. So they're past halfway. I suppose they can do anything they want now.
Well, we're both going to wait and see who goes to victory lane.
And there's another one of the drivers that is certainly a favorite and a candidate for victory next weekend when we're on the oval in Phoenix, Arizona. There's the average speed of the race, 111.59 miles an hour. And that is not too bad as far as speed is concerned, especially since we have had an overall yellow. Well, Well, the rain is being observed in turn number 2, right there where the cars just went through, and there are the ominous clouds that are behind us and could very well threaten to play a role in the latter stages of this race. We'll be right back.
It's a great 5-car.
When was the last time you had a car like this to drive? Talking about the kind of car that brings the road alive. Remember when? How long has it been? Put the key in, put your foot down. Let it go. You got that feeling again. Have you driven a Ford? Then you don't know what you're missing. Have you driven a Ford lately? Have you driven a Ford? Then you don't know what you're missing. Have you driven a Ford? Driven a Ford? Have you driven a Ford lately?
This has to be one of the most competitive road course IndyCar races that we have ever seen. You're watching the top 5, and they are in a nose-to-tail situation. First is Al Unser Jr., then Jeff Brabham, then Bobby Rahal, then Danny Sullivan, and then Mario Andretti. Not all that far behind in 6th position is Al Unser Sr. We have a pass for the lead as Jeff Brabham has outbraked Al Jr., but now Jr. takes back the lead as they get on the throttle and cross the starting line. So Brabham just momentarily in the lead, but Unser got back on the throttle first.
Again, Brabham went down the inside, tried to outbrake Unser Jr., left it a little bit too late, and just couldn't maintain his line coming out of the corner. Unser Jr. slipped back inside him, and then it was a drag race down the front straight.
Boy, Jeff Brabham is just, I know, hoping above all hope that he can pull off his first IndyCar win here this afternoon, and there are a lot of people that would like to see that. He's running right now just inches, literally, behind Al Unser Jr., who, by the way, was a former track record holder at this racetrack in a Can-Am car.
We still think Jeff Brabham is definitely going to have to make a stop, because on that full course yellow, he didn't come in. He did stay out, and that's how he got up in this leading position.
And, of course, Jeff Brabham, who's running in 2nd position, also a former Can-Am competitor.
The interesting thing is Rahal is quite happy to stay in 3rd place. The man who had such a big lead before that full yellow came out. We don't know whether he's taking it easy, whether he thinks he has enough in hand to pass these 2 people when he wishes to, but he just seems to be quite content to sit in 3rd place. The man who was actually running away with the race before the full course yellow came.
Yeah, you know, Bobby needs as many points as he can get because he is 20 behind in the standings, and with only 2 more races to go, he has got to earn as many points as he possibly can in order to win the championship. Quite honestly, Bobby has his work cut out for him if he is going to win the national championship, but of course anything can happen. We would like to mention at this point that one of the people who has helped, Jeff Brabham once again outbreaks little Al, and in fact almost forces him off the racetrack, but Bobby Rahal is the driver that comes out of it with the most advantage. Rahal is into the lead. Jeff Brabham 2nd now, and Al Unser Jr. suddenly falls from 1st to 3rd.
How quickly things can change. Here we see it again. Jeff makes much too much of a deep run because he's too far behind. Locks that left front. He has now no steering, moves offline, takes Al Unser Jr. with him to the outside of the racetrack, and Rahal nips inside, and it looks as if Mario has gained an advantage also. Mario has now slipped into 4th place.
Boy, this is really something. Rahal suddenly has the lead back, and Mario, we believe, has fallen to 5th place.
The problem with locking those front brakes is you lose the ability to steer the car. And that's exactly what we saw with Jeff. He locked the brakes, couldn't steer the car, moved wide, and took Unser Jr. with him.
Danny Sullivan moves into 3rd place. Al Unser Jr. is suddenly back to 4th. What an interesting development here in the late stages of this race. 87 laps have been completed. so only 12 more to go. Bobby Rahal now back into the lead, but Jeff Brabham, who has performed so magnificently, especially in the hairpin, is still working in the shadows and looking for the opportunity to pull it off once again.
I think this race typifies what kart's been all about this year, a super ultra competitive series. And here we have 2 races before the end of the year and 4 championship contenders all covered by a blanket. This just shows how good IndyCar racing is now, just how competitive it is with 11 laps here to go.
Well, I was mentioning before that little pass took place down there in the hairpin that one of the people who have helped us so greatly on Auto Racing 85 this year behind the scenes is Bob Scanlon back in our offices and studios in Bristol, Connecticut. We would like to wish him and his wife, Tess, our congratulations, because they are the proud parents of a new baby boy that was born last Friday, Kyle. Our congratulations to you, Bob, and your wife. 88 laps have been completed, so we have now 10 laps to go. Can Bobby Rahal hold on to the lead, or will Jeff Brabham, Danny Sullivan, Al Unser Jr., or someone else win this race?
He can put you in a brand new Mighty Max pickup. And look what that 99 bucks a month gets you. 1,600-pound payload, double wall 7-foot cargo box, carpeting, tinted glass, radial tires, tilt wheel, power brakes, 18-gallon fuel tank, and more. Just 99 bucks a month. This factory lease program is a limited offer. So don't get stuck in a high-priced truck. Get a Mighty Max for 99 bucks. If you don't get your new Mighty Max from Wayzata Mitsubishi, you're blowing the best truck deal in town.
Your ticket to a super fall, full of hit movies like The Karate Kid, Places in the Heart, and Tightrope. Your ticket to big events like Phil Collins in concert and boxing's biggest bouts. It's your ticket to a special offer to get HBO, just in time for the hottest fall lineup in HBO history. Look for HBO's Get It All Super Fall offer, coming soon in your mail.
Great IndyCar racing from Laguna Seca. The first 7 cars are running on the lead lap, and the first 5 are right together on the racetrack. The leader is Bobby Rahal. Second position is Jeff Brabham. Third, Danny Sullivan. Fourth, Al Unser Jr. Fifth position is Mario Andretti, and sixth is Al Unser Sr. In seventh, the other car on the lead lap is Roberto Guerrero. A lap down in 8th position is Jan Lammers. 9th is Bruno Giacomelli. In 10th place is Jose Lee Garza. 11th is Michael Andretti. And in 12th is Rupert Keegan. Back down to Jack Arute in the pit area.
Bob, we've done an informal polling of the front runners and asked them, 1, do they intend to pit again? Their answer to that question was no. 2, we asked them, would you consider putting on rain tires? Their answer to that question across the board was no as well, and here's why. They feel right now the weather is marginal as far as precipitation. One crew chief said to me, let me tell you, the guy that's going to win this race is the one, if it continues like this, that can slip and slide his way through turn 9 on that final lap. Because if it stays this way, it'll be a little moist, but not wet enough for groove tires.
Our report from the corkscrew last lap was that it was raining not heavily, but at least they were feeling it up there in the corkscrew. It's a mist reported now, and certainly enough that could cause some problems in that very dangerous section of the racetrack.
We have lap times on Rahal at a 56.43 as being his fastest. Now that's one of the fastest laps of the race, and he's bringing Brabham and Sullivan along with him. Now Brabham, we can see exiting the corners. He gets the car sideways. He is giving it everything he can give to try and wrest the lead from Rahal.
Al Unser Jr., Mario Andretti are battling for position out there for a 4th spot. Now, we saw Al Jr. drop back here. He was in the lead and now is back in 4th. Could he have damaged something on that car, you think, when he was passed right here at this location of the racetrack, the hairpin? Oh, and Mario sneaks underneath and picks up the position, and now Al Sr. moves alongside his son right at the start-finish line, and they go side by side below us into turn number 1, but Al Sr. now takes the position over Al Jr. Could there be something wrong with that car, you think?
There could be. We saw Al Unser Jr. go very wide when Brabham did make that move down the outside. Now, if he locked one of his front wheels, like a right front wheel, he could easily flat spot the tire. If he flat spots, that means rubs all the rubber off whatever piece of the tire that's actually stopped. If he flat spots those tires, there's no way that he can use the brakes to the maximum that he wishes to use. Now, and again, we saw him go wide at the hairpin. So I think it looks as if he may have a braking problem.
While all this is going on, Bobby Rahal continues to lead, and his interval is less than a second over Jeff Brabham. Jeff Brabham, as we indicated, has never won an IndyCar race, and really victory is well within his grasp, and I know he desperately wants a win here this afternoon.
We have number 4, Danny Sullivan, is being shown the black flag at the moment. Sullivan has a spray coming from his car. He's being shown the black flag at the moment. Sullivan is running in 3rd position at the moment, but he will have to make a stop.
There's another interesting development here as we have only 5 more laps to go. Danny Sullivan running a strong 3rd here. He has been up in the top 5 literally all race, is being observed for some smoke, and black flag displayed to him. Stays on the accelerator, though. That's the area of the track that he would enter the pit area. He did not that time. We'll watch as he comes out of the hairpin and down the straightaway here to see if he is given the black flag once again, and yes, he is. The black flag displayed to Danny Sullivan. Do you think he will heed it or stay out there and finish the race?
I just hope he can see it, because just below the black flag, Mario, we have, just as I talk here, we have Mario. I'll get back to the black flag in a minute, but we have Mario slowing down. In fact, it doesn't look as if he's going to make it. He's just gone by our booth here, and the engine is very, very rough. The engine has definitely gone off song. I think Mario's day is over. But I was saying about the black flag earlier on for Sullivan. His own pit board and his own pit men are right below the black flag man. So I can't see how Sullivan would take his eye off his own pit board. So if he ignores it, I wouldn't say it's exactly what Sullivan wants.
And we have Jeff Brabham blowing up. Right at turn number 8, the engine lets go on Jeff Brabham's car. A huge puff of smoke. He pulls onto pit road, not in the entrance, but rather takes a cross-country move. And Jeff Brabham's, well, it's just unbelievable the luck that Jeff has in IndyCar racing. What a talented driver he is, but something seems to always go wrong for him in the late stages of a race that he is running so well in.
It's hard to believe. This is the most action-packed race that we have seen for a long time. Now, the big thing now is this black flag. Sullivan is now 2nd. He's now closed on Rahal.
And Bobby Rahal, rather Mario Andretti, as he comes into the hairpin, he has fire at the back of that race car. Similar to a situation that we saw earlier today in Formula One. Mario Andretti is pulling the car to a stop in front of the pits, and you can see the water being poured onto the engine. The fire appears to be out already. Mario climbs out of that car. Unbelievable developments here in the late stages. Rahal is still on top through all of this, but the car in 2nd place, Danny Sullivan, has been black flagged. Very possibly Al Unser Sr. will finish in 2nd in this event if Sullivan does come in and heed the black flag or is penalized. And Al Unser Jr. is now shown in 4th position, but again, that's considering the fact that Sullivan is still shown in 2nd. Jeff Brabham is with Jack Arute, and our condolences to Jeff Brabham, Jack.
And he's just the first of a couple that have fallen out. You seem to lead the hunt. What happened, Jeff? All of a sudden, white smoke and end of the day.
Well, unfortunately, we just lost an engine. The engine blew up, and, you know, there's nothing we can do about that. And I just like to thank, you know, the Coors Light Silver Bullet crew for giving me such a great race car. And, you know, I was having fun out there, and I don't know, it just wasn't our day.
Does it bother you being so close and yet so far away on so many consecutive occasions? You ran so well at San Air. You've run so well at other places, only not to taste victory lane yet.
Well, if I'd finished 2nd in that race, I wouldn't have minded at all. So I gave it my best shot, and if I came up 2nd or 3rd or 4th, whatever it is, that's just all I was going to do. But, you know, I gave it a try. That's all I can say.
Well, Jeff, while we're chatting, going behind us was Danny Sullivan finally adhering to the black flag.
And we are on the last lap of the race, Jack. Yes, Danny Sullivan did come in for his stop and go. And now Jan Lammers moves past him, and Lammers is a lap down, so that was not for position. But Bobby Rahal is less than a lap from victory here, with all kinds of interesting developments going on. Here comes Bobby Rahal down through turn number 8, braking for the hairpin. Now coming out of the hairpin, the checkered flag is within his sight, and there it is. The winner of the Stroh's 300 IndyCar race is Bobby Rahal. Now, out of the hairpin, rather, the second place finisher is going to be Al Unser Sr. Here he comes, taking the checkered flag. There is Sr. getting the checkered flag, and not too far behind him is Al Unser Jr. So those are going to be your top 3 finishers. Roberto Guerrero unofficially in 4th position, and those 4 cars will finish on the lead lap.
Whatever happened, Sullivan, he did make that stop on the black flag. He made a drag start out of the pit lane, left trails of blue smoke, but never appeared going fast for the rest of that lap. He is going slow. We see him here. He's just about to take the checkered flag, but he did get out before Unser Sr., but of course Unser Sr. just drove by him.
Well, he crosses the line and pulls immediately into the pit area. What a tremendously exciting race we had here this afternoon, all capped off by another victory for Bobby Rahal. He picks up valuable points, and so does Al Unser Sr., who suddenly is once again very much in the battle for the national championship. So the Stroh's 300 IndyCar races history, Bobby Rahal pulls into victory lane, and we'll be there to talk with him when we come back to Laguna Seca Raceway.
These men are on their way to work. Their office, the Pennzoil Penske Super Truck. Inside, a car designed to win championships. Only one motor oil makes it inside the truck. Only one motor oil makes it inside this race car, Pennzoil.
Around here, Pennzoil protection is part of the equipment.
Just hear the stock cars rolling down that high bank track. Better keep your eye on number 5, cause he ain't looking back. That's Levi Garrett coming through. Taste that flavor coming through for you. Time after time, the quality comes through. That's why Levi Garrett is the brand I'm proud to choose. Levi Garrett.
We are back at Laguna Seca, where Bobby Rahal has won our 300-kilometer IndyCar race. Let's go to Gary Lee in victory lane.
I think we're going to ask for a share of the purse, because when you're on ESPN Live, you win them. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It was, I was a little disturbed when they threw the pace car out there. I had things well in hand. Didn't think I was going to have to work very hard. When they put the pace car out, I had to work hard.
Speaking of working hard, let's show the palm of that hand. Obviously, a blister right there from the gear shift.
Yeah, it's well, actually it came from the steering wheel, I think, and yeah, car ran beautifully the whole time, and the crew did a great job. I was a little concerned, but I could see Jeff was really carving up Al Jr. And I figured, well, I'll let them take each other out, and I'll just nip through, and that's the way it worked out.
What happened about lap 85 or 86? I think you were 3rd at that point, and something happened down in turn 9. You went from 3rd to 1st.
Well, Brabham outbraked Al, cleanly, but he took Al outside of the corner, and I just sort of nipped through the inside, and we were off to the races.
I know Steve Horn, the crew chief, is on his way up. Your wife Debbie is someplace. Here's Debbie right over here. Big kiss for wife Debbie, and I know you want to say hello to the boss because the owner is back in Columbus.
Well, I wish he was out here. I was going to play golf tomorrow, but with that blister, it might improve my game, so I better not. I hope he did well back in Columbus, and hope it was a good event in Columbus, because the more street races, the better.
Once again, congratulations to Bobby Rahal.
And our winner interview has been presented by Goodyear. Goodyear tires and Goodyear service for more good years in your car. We'll be back with more interviews, plus we'll sort out this interesting point situation now when we come back with more from Monterey, California.
Indianapolis,
where the gladiators of the automotive world do battle, where one competitor has dominated the Indy 500. It is a tire born of advanced design and innovative technology, the only tire to qualify. For the past 10 years, the only tire on every car in the Indy 500.
ESPN keeps the Total Sports Promise Wednesday. Major League Baseball's greatest hits leads off in prime time with a special look at legendary heroes from the 30s. Then brace for the two-fisted fury of PKA full-contact karate. Witness the awesome kicking and punching power of the fiercest fighters in the world. Live top-ranked boxing keeps the heavy hitters coming. From heavyweight knockout blasters to Cobra Quick lightweights, this card has it all. Catch the best sports on television Wednesday on ESPN.
Introducing something new and rather amazing. A super high-octane gasoline with twice the detergent it had before to give you a plus. A detergent strong enough to actually clean dirty fuel injectors to give your car power and performance it didn't have before. New Mobil Super Unleaded, high-octane with a plus.
In the high-tech world of car stereo, high technology must go beyond what the eye can see. Kenwood believes in the essentials, in achieving sound perfection, by building car stereo components that produce sound of startling realism and depth. Sound perfection. It doesn't get any closer than this.
For your nearest Kenwood dealer, call 1-800-CAR-SOUND.
Back at Laguna Seca, where Bobby Rahal has won this IndyCar race. Jack Arute is down in the pit area in the Roger Penske pit. Jack?
And the first gentleman we want to talk to is the one that came into play on that last lap, Danny Sullivan. Danny, you were running so well, and then the black flag was issued. What happened? What were they bringing you in for?
I don't really know. I thought my water temperature was a little bit high, and we thought maybe we were spraying out some water, but they never explained to me what was the reason why I was coming, so we had to stop on the last lap for him to have a look-see. And
did they find anything when they came in on that lap and a look-see?
I don't think so, because they sent me right back out, so it obviously wasn't as bad as whatever they thought. So right now I'm at a little bit of a loss of what was really going on. So
it's a difficult situation, though, when you come in after the race. We know you went and you talked to Roger, you talked to Kirk Russell and everybody else, but that's almost too late to really resolve anything, is it not?
Well, that's right. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I was so upset. We were running second, and to get black flagged and pulled in on the last lap and, give all that away. And the points, we're still in it for the championship, and Bobby and I were the last two guys. We need the most points. And, they can't give it back to me. They can't take those second and third places away from little Al and Al and give it back to me. So I'm just frustrated.
Waiting for Phoenix.
Waiting for Phoenix.
Like we all are. And we're going to go get a hold of Al Unser Sr., his teammate, because that guy finished second. We'll be back to you with him.
All right, Jack. Thank you very much. The point situation is very, very tight now. It's even tighter than it was before we went into this race. We will discuss that. Plus, we will hopefully have an interview with Al Unser Sr. when we come back with more. Stay with us.
When the going gets rough, you need a tough 4x4 like this, the 86 Ford Ranger STX. This year, only Ranger offers this new electric shifting system. You just punch a button at any speed and shift from two-wheel to ground-grabbing four-wheel drive. And talk about power. Ranger's new 2.9-liter V6 has the most horses of any small truck. The tough 86 Ford Ranger 4x4. The best-built American trucks are built Ford Tough.
This Halloween, don't just ask for a light beer.
Bartender, please, give me a light.
No! Bud Light! Bud Light. Because everything else is just a light.
Now, how about if I tweet?
Make this Halloween a Bud Light Fright Night. Look for this display with free poster and special mug offer at participating retailers.
Me, I'm an accountant.
These men are on their way to work. Their office, the Pennzoil Penske Super Truck. Inside, a car designed to win championships. Only one motor oil makes it inside the truck. Only one motor oil makes it inside this race car. Pennzoil.
Around here, Pennzoil protection is part of the equipment.
We're here on pit road once again, and we're talking to the second place finisher, Al Unser Sr. Al, congratulations on a fine ride.
Thank you. It makes me feel good. The crew did a heck of a job, thanks to them, and of course Pennzoil. It all came around, and some bad luck with some other guys.
Now, you've narrowed up the margin on your son, Al Jr. It looks like it's going to go down to the wire for the Unser family.
Well, it's going to be tough. I hope it is between the two of us. It would make me very happy and proud.
Yeah, but who do you want to, would you want to beat the kid for the championship?
Why, sure, heck yes. Like I told him the other day, heck, you know, the elders should come first, and he didn't agree.
Well, we'll find out if he's going to be able to pull that in as a father at Phoenix.
Thank you, Jack. And the point standings now show that Al Unser Jr. is on top with 120. He remains in the lead, but Al Sr. is now 3 behind at 117. Then Bobby Rahal with 108. Mario Andretti with 100, and Emerson Fittipaldi and Danny Sullivan are tied with 99. Well, the Stroh's 300 has been brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? And by Bud Light, the light beer with the first name in taste. Everything else is just a light. And by Pennzoil Motor Oil, quality protection. Ask for it. The top 5 finishers here at Laguna Seca, the winner Bobby Rahal, second Al Unser Sr., third Al Unser Jr., then Roberto Guerrero and Danny Sullivan. Next week, IndyCar racing on the mile at Phoenix, Arizona. Join us for Speed Week Thursday nights at 7:30 for all the latest in the news and results in the world of motorsports. My thanks to Derek Daly for commentary in the booth, and to Jack Root and Gary Lee, who worked the pit area. We'll see you next Sunday. For now, Bob Jenkins. So long, everyone.